So QBTS stock has been on a surge recently back to previous highs, but the question is, has it got the potential to keep running, or might we see it maybe sell back down as it just made one of the biggest surges we've ever seen, with the stock surging back up to previous highs here at about $11.80. At one point, it seems that it recovered just in a matter of days about 70%. So first thing to note is QBTS, really one of the main quantum companies. We recently went to the Qubits conference. We got to meet some executives there. We got to talk with the companies. We got to see firsthand what their technology is doing. And we even got to meet the CEO at that event, which was quite the experience. Now, in that event, you could see that they've had some good announcements recently, but they've also had some skepticism relating to some of their claims that they've made. And like any claim that's made, there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations you're going to have with people sometimes if you make big claims and you don't have all of the data perfectly presented. So when it comes down to QBTS, there's three things we look at. Number one is the market. Number two is the analysis. And number three is the profit plan, or the margins and risk that we could see here in the near term. Number one for QBTS, and if you guys enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe, is the market. The market is going to be a focus for QBTS because they're in quantum. So if you're not familiar with the stock, feel free to check out their main sites. They have a lot of resources where they share the type of technical advancements. They even have a recent interview there with Alan Barrett's, the CEO, talking on Fox Business. And we also got to see a lot of news come out after their recent earnings. So they just recorded some earnings here in 2025 that were looking good. So overall, the quantum market has been kind of stalling a little bit, but overall, we're seeing some companies report better earnings like IonQ here and D-Wave, but Rigetti was lagging a little bit, and you can see Rigetti is down about 13% today, which is funny. We actually made a video yesterday that they're at a resistance. We were just talking about it yesterday. We said, look, they're at this resistance right here. It would make sense that Rigetti would sell down, and look at that, almost perfectly sold back down to that level and then held the level, and we're kind of watching it here. So QBTS overall quantum market is growing, but has some concerns around the validity of the tech and the use cases that is going to be seen in the market right now. Number two is the analysis. So we could break QBTS down into A, B, and C, A being the chart. Let's just take a look at the chart. We have a few levels. First, this resistance that can be clearly identified at about $11.40. And it did just get rejected there. It's been rejected there a few times. Now, one thing to note is following the rejection at this level, for the two previous times that it's gotten rejected, it's sold back down into this trend here in this $7 range. So something that you might want to pay attention to is that overextension. You got to look at maybe the overall trend here, that it is getting rejected and that there could be risk for it to sell down. In fact, the RSI, the MACD here, do look overbought on the technical side of things. That's how it's looking. Now, if it sells down even further, there could be some levels just in the near term at which it might still find support. There was a previous resistance here, right here at about $10.40. And it did validate that a little bit there and kind of push back up above that EMA. We'll see if it can hold that blue line. In the technical side of things, oftentimes the EMA acts as a support when it's bullish, and when it's bearish, it's going to act as a resistance, as you see there. So recently, it did just kind of cross below and above this EMA after being bullish for a few days there. And if it crosses below, we could see some bearish action potential, as that 200-day moving average is a little bit further down. So again, looking a little overextended there on the near term. So the technicals are kind of looking that way. There's the hyper bull case that it can push up even further and then use that $11 price point as a support, but I'd say that's highly unlikely. And what might make more sense is to see the stock sell back down into these levels of around $7 to $10. Now, some people say, well, QBTS has all these contracts. They're the leading quantum company, and it seems like your narrative has changed. You used to, be very bullish. Now you're less bullish. Well, just to put it in perspective, let's just talk for a second here. We started covering it early November. So when I started covering the stock, it was at $1 a share. It's now at 10 times that amount, up to $10 a share. So just to put that in perspective from a financial standpoint, it was at about $300 million market cap. And now it's at $3 billion market cap. So since we started covering it, it's changed a lot. It's progressed upwards. And also, it looks a little overextended. And I got to go see firsthand the tech. And we can open up the financials right now. Let's jump into it. So again, for the chart, seeing it if it's going to hold this level. Otherwise, maybe a little bit overextended. And personally, I could see it sell down some more. When it comes to the financials, so this is B, the financials, and step number 2 is analysis, and we get into some of their revenue. The revenues look better. You see green quarter here. The quarter is improving. In March 2025, they just reported, and revenue was up 500% year over year, up to $15 million in revenue, and net income at negative 5.4. So that's a lot better than previously about 2 million in a quarter with negative 86 or 1 million in a quarter with negative 22. So they did see a big jump there in their revenue. But think about this, it's $11 million in that quarter. What's their market cap again? 3.1 billion. Now, I'm not too sure what the market cap of this recent stock we started covering. I think it's AMTM. Okay, they're a little bit larger at $5 billion. So just about 40% larger. But they don't have 40% more revenue at around, let's call it 30 million a quarter. Their revenue was at 3.5 billion per quarter. Over 3 billion in a quarter as of recently. And so when we're looking at valuations, I don't mean this to have a fixed mindset or compare and play the comparison game where we're like, well, they could be this and they could be that. It's still important to realize that with their financials, if you're looking at an investment from a standpoint of, really seeing the returns that you're looking for and having them grow intrinsically, as well as with the news and the financials, or the news and the chart, that looks good, but it's actually intrinsically inside the stock, it's becoming more valuable, then that's good. But D-Wave, just to put it in perspective, 15 million in a quarter, and their total revenue is really, it's a little bit just over 20 million for the year, but a $3 billion market cap is pretty big market cap. So that's kind of the reasons why we have that outlook. So again, we're looking at it now. It looks a little overbought. I would imagine QBTS could sell down a little bit. When we get into step number 3, which is the news, or not step number 3, we're still in step number 2 of the analysis, but we get into C. C in the analysis is the news. And so the chart may be a little overextended. The financials look good. Year over year, they're improving. However, you do see maybe some problems in that their market cap is so high in comparison. But then you can get into some of the news. They have some news here that recently Alan Barrett's went on Fox News. He noted that these system sales are long lead time sales cycles because of the fact that the systems are quite pricey, anywhere from $20 to $40 million for a system. Okay. They just sold one system there for Uleaks in Germany. And then there was one there in Davidson. I think this is it Huntsville, Alabama, where they sold, Huntsville, Alabama. They sold a system. I don't know if they sold the system. Yep. On-site installation. They don't mention that it was a sale, if I don't recall. Yeah, they're hosting the system and it's being there, but I don't see that it was the sale of a system, just that it's the home of the system. So just kind of keeping that in mind. And then, yeah, with recent news, they have most likely 90% of that revenue, and I could be wrong. Feel free to enlighten me. But I think, with the exception of their NASA contract, which is a, a fairly good portion of their revenue, uh, that a good makeup of their recent revenue is from that sale to the Germany plant there for their system. As you mentioned, what did you say, 15 to 20 million for a system? It's possible, with the net income of -5, they did sell in revenue. They might have, made a good portion of this 15 million in this quarter as a result of selling that system to that Germany company. So why are we still maybe a little skeptical on the results? Well, all I'll say is that I love to see quantum computing as the forefront of technology, and I have a lot of positive things to say around the fact that D-Wave is out here working on becoming a top player, or is the top player in quantum annealing technology. But at the same time, you have to also look at the partnerships and you have to look at the revenue. And so far, for the current valuation, it just hasn't validated, or I would say it hasn't shown to be something that, if you were investing in for consistent returns, would make sense. For something that could be possibly an amazing breakout in the future as a result of their tech, let's say, catching on, and they do start to validate and have more partnerships, then it would, continue to grow. But we've been covering it, like I said, since early November. It's gone from $1 to $10, and during that time period, there really hasn't been too many new partnerships. They've had that one sale, but other than that, they've just been, continuing to work on their current books of business, which is something that we watch closely, and we want to see them improve that book of business. So that's what we watch, and we'll continue to cover it as they continue to move. Now, when we get into step number 3, margins for profit. Right now, the margin for profit would be pretty risky in my eyes to trade this on a swing trade, or even on something that's like a 3-month analysis. See it as overextended, and this sell down here, which would be about a 30% decrease, could be potentially likely, especially since it's been getting rejected here at this level. Now, if you were to see it continue and somehow this trend here is just a pullback before a greater push upward, then you're looking at 7 to 20% upside, but again, with more risk in mind than there is reward. So I just keep that in mind. It did recently push up above the 200-day moving average, which is very great news for them overall, and that's more bullish indication. But on the near term, to me, it just simply looks a little overextended. And as we called it, really, we started talking about it on Monday, and we started talking about on Friday, that after this big move up here to 1080 by the end of the day, or 1090, I was fairly certain that it didn't have too much more running price action that we were going to see up above those $11 or $12 ranges. And so far, it's peaked out, and we haven't seen it continue to brew on. So we'll see how it goes towards the end of the day today, and how it finishes out here Tuesday. And if it does pull back down this level, maybe we do trade it on a short-term trade, or if we see an exaggerated dip at market open. And we'll see if any of those awesome dip opportunities are able to present themselves and be a greater dip than that we see in the price value before the market opens, and that maybe some of that equilibrium presents an opportunity for us to buy in when it overextends down. Potentially we would do that at market open. And again, if you guys want to watch me trade live in StockMate and surround yourself with like-minded individuals, it's that second link in the description to join StockMate at market open. So I'd love to see you there tomorrow morning. Thank you guys so much for watching. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.